Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Nurgle and Norsca here on the Imperial Road. It's going to be myself with Tamurkhan facing off against Orange Pest here with good old Wolfric, of course, going to be spamming the Lure of Boats. Very, very strong stuff indeed. And yes, we do have Tamurkhan on foot, which I think of all the matchups, if you want to bring Tamurkhan on foot, Norsca's probably the best one. There's a lot of good targets for him. You know, he can fight against Wolfric, against Throg, against Mammoth, Skinwolf, Samir, whatever. There's a lot of great targets for him, and he's certainly a very powerful fighter. 8,500 HP is no joke. So for the rest of my army, it's going to be 2 Nurglings with a Marauder here to hold the back objective against these Skirmishers. Noxbringer is a must. Most Chaos factions that have access to Marauder Horsemen with the Javelins will bring them. Throwing Axes are a little bit more niche because of their shorter range, but the factions that do, of course, have the Javelins are going to bring him, right? So I think he actually went really heavy. He's got like 3 Axes and 3 Javelins, so pretty hardcore. And it makes sense. Nurgle does have armor, so the Axes are good here. But the Noxbringer can counter Skirmish, and that's one thing that Nurgle really sucks at. It's probably Nurgle's biggest weakness is dealing with Skirmishers and Poke. So the Noxbringer, I think, is a meta in pretty much any matchup you're going to be dealing with that type of play. Now, the rest of the build is very heavy metal, and any excuse I can find to shoehorn Chosen of Nurgle into a build, I'm going to do it. And against these guys, it's not bad. They can pretty much dominate all of the Norscan infantry. They're durable against like Javelins and ranged poke. So yeah, I think there's some tools there. So we do get the Noxbringer poking away as the throwing weapons do continue shooting into the Marauders here. They're going to be taking it like champs. A couple of these guys going to be parky on the outside. This is a good play for Orange Pest, basically looking for my unshielded units, taking advantage of my lack of speed. And even if I wanted to call in something to chase him, it wouldn't matter. He could just run away, so it's not even really worth it for me there. So at this point, I kind of yield the 2 objectives. I'm like, I'm not going to win those points. I need to just poke and value trade with my Noxbringer and drain the ammo off his horsemen, and then we're going to advance up with the Chosen when we're feeling up to it here. Wolfric getting ready to use Lure of Boats, so it looks like he's trying to bunch up those Marauders, and Tamurkhan's going to be running to intercept the Mammoth. I think he's a little faster. No, it's actually slower than the Mammoth, huh? 55 speed. And yeah, Angels of Decay are one of Nurgle's best bets for dealing with big things, right? It can just follow these things around, and as long as the horsemen don't get hold of them, they're going to do some big work. So Tamurkhan going to be battling it out versus the Mammoth. Mammoth getting some pretty heavy aggression on my backfield here, but Tammy's no joke. Nice anti-large fighter, packs a punch. Black Cleaver activated as well to get a little bit of a stat buff there, as we do see some flanking on the side, and these Marauder Horsemen get owned pretty good there by a Noxbringer shot, and the Nurglings are also going to be engaging them in melee. So we do see a Flamestorm activated, but Chosen have very high armor, so they don't care too much about that. And the Chosen of Nurgle and Marauders now going to be moving up to press the middle objective. I felt as if I had a pretty decent little advantage there. And so far, we've been able to deal with the Skirmish. Of course, I'm down on points. That is a little bit scary, but overall, Noxbringer is still cackling. The Angels of Decay in good shape, and here we have Tamurkhan continuing to hunt down the large mobility. On the front, Marauders and Chosen have engaged. Chosen going to be engaged against Marauders here. This is going to be an absolute massacre. Chosen of Nurgle will take like maybe 15% HP damage in a duel with these guys, but it'll be different because of the Javelins throwing in. So the Javelin's going to make it a little bit harder and, you know, potentially turn the tide of that fight. We'll have to see. Noxbringer is still poking away, and the back objective is stabilized. With Nurgle, it like you either do like a full court press where you press like hard and just try and triple cap with mass infantry, or you do like a defensive value trade, so you hold one back objective and then value trade a little bit and then move forward with your really heavy duty units and then try and wrestle the middle before it's too late. That's kind of the overall strategy of Nurgle. In the back, we do see the Marauder Horsemen trying to hunt down Angels of Decay and doing a decent job of it. Tamurkhan trying to peel some of those units off, hoping that the Chosen of Nurgle are going to be able to endure against Trolls too, which is very, very tough. But they have insane leadership, and even in hardcore losing fights, those guys are going to be doing their best here. So on the outside, a couple Marauder Horsemen still trolling away. Angels of Decay are basically just following around the Warshine Mammoth. But you can see how all of the Norscan Javelins are super low in ammo, right? The Noxbringer has been methodically just farming their ammunition, which is so cool. I think it's becoming one of my favorite Nurgle units. And Tamurkhan is nice for this type of a thing. Fleshy Abundance on the Chosen. And Tamurkhan, though he's weak to Javelins, will be very good against the Trolls. You can see he bashes one of those Trolls in the face and is going to send him running there as the Javelins do switch focus fire onto him. The Norscan Ice Trolls are going to be in retreat, and the Chosen of Nurgle getting pushed back a little bit, I believe. You know, actually, I think both are still here. Wow. Pretty raid boss. Chaos Warriors of Nurgle are going to be pushing up now as well, so the heavy-duty armor is on its way. Angels of Decay in the back certainly need to keep this Warshine Mammoth honest, because Mammoths are really good against infantry, so I could certainly lose if that continues on. So Tamurkhan getting caught here in the back. I do use Nurgle's favored son as the Javelins continue focus firing him to give him melee defense and ward save, so he is going to retreat through the ranks and belly bumping some of those bad boys. We do call in Furies. Now, I feel I've been using Furies can often be a trap unit, I feel like. When you use Furies, like, it's so easy to just see a range unit instinctively call in a Fury and dive them, but they're like, I think in the late game it's good, but in the early, like, middle game it's a little bit dangerous. And also, looks like in the backfield, the Mammoth is going for my back objective. I do call in some Marauder Horsemen to try and, tar pit the Mammoth and let the Angels of Decay shoot, but at the end of the day, it was probably a mistake. Probably should have just got them back a little bit, but if we can hold our back objective, that would be big, but obviously, big danger of potentially losing it with all the Horsemen here, and only my Haggard Nurglings standing guard. So Tamurkhan in danger, though. Wulfric hunting him down. Wulfric does do good against light armor. Tamurkhan's not super heavily armored, but Fleshy Abundance and the Black Cleaver is going to start giving him the advantage in this fight, and Tamurkhan will smash Wulfric in like a fair fight. And you can see he immediately starts to turn that fight around once he gets healed up a little bit, and isn't eating the javelins like a champ. So Chosen of Nurgle being absolute Giga Chads as the Warriors continue. Look at these guys. They've been fighting tooth and nail in hard fights against like Mammoths and Trolls, and they're still just going hard in the paint, man. Thing of beauty. So in the backfield, we do see objective number 3 being held, so that's pretty big for us. And another cool anecdote about the Noxbringer is it's a really good melee fighter, so you can actually use it to fend off things like Mammoths. If they do dive too deeply in your lines, you can chase them, and it's going to be able to fight the Mammoth reasonably well. Angels of Decay still in the hunt. Back objective is stabilized. Middle objective could be flipping to us. We'll have to see. We are up in value, 5.7 against 4.6 right now, as we do see the Chosen of Nurgle as well as the Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle fighting it out and getting some decent ground. Tamurkhan in melee fighting the Norscan Ice Trolls, who are going to be on the retreat as the Chosen continue moving forward. And the wall of evil, pestilent Nurgle continues, as the big old Warshrine Mammoth here does get a little bit low from the Angels of Decay, who've gotten about 1,300 value from their Unholy Hand Grenade so far. So certainly doing some damage. Noxbringer slightly surrounded, but has Nurgling support, so the Skinwolves, not Skinwolves here, but the Norscan Ice Wolves aren't going to get as good of an engagement. And now we do see some more Chaos Warriors of Nurgle surging forward. So middle objective, potentially going to be flipping here. Tamurkhan still holding it down. My opponent calling in the Skinwolves, which are very, very good here. They're going to be quite excellent against Tamurkhan and any of my, big things, but yeah, also the Ice Trolls are a good counter against the Chosen. Like, it's very cost effective. I mean, they can hold because the Nurgle Chosen just have insane melee defense, but it's definitely cost effective for my opponent to do that. But the middle does go to us. Tamurkhan's kind of been bouncing around methodically, hunting down the Trolls wherever he can, and now is going to be surging on over to deal with these Trolls. Meanwhile, in the backfield, we do get the Noxbringer as well as the Angels of Decay dragging down the Warshrine Mammoth, and a couple of Poison Hounds are going to be surging up to the high ground here, and heavily pursued here by the Skinwolves. Granted, Hounds are actually not terrible against Skinwolves, because Skinwolves are anti-large, but they still have high melee attack, so yeah, but the Hounds are decent at tar pitting them while your other assets can fight against them. So on the back objective, we park some Chaos Warriors. I know I can comfortably win on just 2 points here, so I'm just trying to hunker down and hold these 2 objectives. Make sure things don't get too crazy. Tamurkhan with Fleshy Abundance activated on him once again to keep him in the fight. And the Warshrine Mammoth is pretty much taken out of the game. So what Norsca has here, we do have Wulfric. I do use Curse of the Slug to slow these units down. Going to be trying to Alpha Strike onto the middle to make sure I don't lose that. A couple Horsemen did rally back here, so I'm going to need to get those. And now we get Battletoads coming out. Battletoads will be okay here. They can hold their own against Trolls. I mean, Trolls will defeat them in combat, but they do have armor piercing in mass, so the Trolls don't just like kind of bully them over. Noxbringer being hunted by Wulfric. Currently, I am up by about 8.2 to 7.3, which is pretty big for us. Chosen still really, really nice anchors. 68 Chosen fighting here in the middle objective, while Tamurkhan and his Black Cleaver continue to anchor it down over here. And the Angels of Decay now going to be swooping in after having gotten about 1,800 value so far. So they're decent in melee too. They have an okay stat line. I'm trying to think like what Nurgle could be given to really make them more like, you know how Khorne got a makeover and they got like a bunch of spell resist, which was really big because, Khorne Elite Infantry being bullied by spells was kind of silly. And then Creative Assembly bumped up the spell resist on mortals pretty hard, right? So then that really changed the game for Khorne. I feel like they could do something similar for Nurgle. Nurgle's a very low tier faction in domination mode, and I hear they're not great in land battle as well. Granted, they still can win. It requires a lot of like build knowledge, and there's so many matchups that are just really cursed for them. I think like maybe a missile resist, like a faction-wide missile resist, and it makes sense too. In tabletop, they have those kind of same rules because Nurgle otherwise gets blasted off the table. They'll often get -1 to hit in combat and in shooting because they're surrounded by flies and miasma, and it's like hard to see them, and like they're just this nasty wall moving towards you, right? But I think something like that would be good. Anyways, Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord here, battling it out versus the Marauder Hunter Javelins, and we do also get the Angels of Decay hunting down some of these units back here. So Chaos Fury's lurking up in the sky. My opponent, really, really nice micro here, going to be moving to the other objective, realizing that the middle is a lost cause. 2 Nurgle Chosen, Tamurkhan. But at this point, I'm pretty well ahead, and we do have Chaos Warriors and multiple Marauder Horsemen. Going to be using the Furies to intercept the Norscan Ice Wolves here, and we should be able to hold this back objective with the help of the Noxbringer. So the Noxbringer is going to be going for it, while the last of the Norscan units do get punched off that objective here. Now, are we going to be able to stabilize this? Colin is going to be Nurglings to try and get that point, provide capture it, make sure nothing dangerous happens. Norscan Doggos push back, And the Noxbringer in a little bit of danger as the Norsca and Condom Wolves continue to slap the base here. But thankfully, these Chaos Warriors of Nurgle, oh man, I really like this color scheme. You know, I did my Nurgle tabletop army has like white armor, but like sometimes when I see that really dark like Baroque looking armor, I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish I had done that. Granted, you know, the white armor is very unique when people see it. It's certainly not something you see every day. Advancing up are the Nurglings, and that should give me the stability I need here as the Marauder Horsemen and Furies rip into the Norscan Ice Wolves. Should be in the clear from here. Tamurkhan going to be sweeping up. He's going to provide nice combat prowess, and the Noxbringer living gives me terror against the various troll units, and I think it's going to be stable. So in the middle objective, looking very, very good for us. In the backfield, some Norscan Ice Trolls have rallied. But basically, Norsca is just massively behind in value at this point, and being behind in value against Nurgle and not ahead of them on points by that much is pretty much a death sentence. Nurgle, like vampire counts, is very similar in that way. So Tamurkhan is making a wild attack animation in the air. His eyes and vision, perhaps not the greatest. You know, he is a infested creature, but that is going to be victory for the Plague Father. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Chosen are so freaking cool. In this matchup, they're actually pretty good. You can see 1,700 and 1,000. They're durable against the Javelins and the Skirmishers, and they dominate the infantry fight. Weak against Mammoths and Trolls, but their melee defense is so damn high that they can actually fight Trolls for a long time, and it's not the end of the world. I love finding a way for Tamurkhan to be useful. I mean, I felt like he was very good here. His value, obviously not insane because, you know, he was being kited. Every time he tried to chase somebody, they ran, but he was a deterrent and a really good anchor piece, I think. Angels of Decay carried the game pretty well, and overall, I think the build got her done. So looking at the Norscan build, we talked about it afterwards, and he made some adjustments, and we had some really, really nice Norscan version Nurgle games later, which of course I'll be posting at some point. But adding a Skinwolf Werekinnin is very nice. It gives you the dueling advantage against like characters like Tamurkhan, and yeah, aside from that, maybe more Skinwolves. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you on the other side, and that's going to be it for tonight.